as you can guess, in the Avalon Orchard, just on the slopes of Glastonbury Tor. We've just had the Summer Solstice, midsummer, and it can be pretty difficult to find a place to yourself in Glastonbury at the moment. So I'm just tucked over here in the corner of the Avalon Orchard, and as you can see, I'm on my own today, sadly. Carolina's got a lot going on and couldn't make it, so I'm here just to give you the information on the runes today. So we're here today to talk about the rune Dagaz. Now that's its Germanic name. In Anglo-Saxon it's Dag, and it basically translates as day. So this is the rune of day, and we're sitting now on the very southernmost point of the runic wheel. And interesting to note that we are opposite now Yera, which sits at the point of the winter solstice, and that means year, and this means day. So we've got those two runes opposite each other, which are both representative of time. So this rune, Dagaz, came into its power on the 14th of June and will run through until the 28th. So the peak of this rune, as I said, this is the rune of the summer solstice. It peaked on the 21st, around the 21st of June, so at the point when the sun was at its zenith and at its full strength. So in the Futhark, Dagaz is quite often shown in the 24th position, but it really does depend upon which system you follow and which rune row you take your information from, because I think, as I mentioned last time, sometimes the two, Uthark and Dagaz, are kind of interchangeable, but I feel that this position is at the 24th in the Futhark. The Uthark doesn't actually end, so this is the last rune of the Futhark row, but the Uthark actually has Fehu, which we'll be talking about next time, as its last rune. It's slightly different. So I'm just going to read you the Anglo-Saxon rune poem. This isn't a rune which appears in the younger Futhark. The Anglo-Saxon rune poem is Day. The glorious light of the Creator is sent by the Lord. It is beloved of men, a source of hope and happiness to rich and poor, and of service to all. So you can see that's probably been Christianized there, but so we can see from this rune poem that this rune is considered to be a positive rune. Another name for this is a hide rune. So this is a rune of hope, of happiness, of health, of prosperity, and new openings. So interesting to note that Day in Norse mythology is the herald of Suna, the sun goddess, who we spoke about when we discussed Sowilo earlier this year. So Day, it's said that his father was a god named Delling, and Delling translates as day spring or shining one. So he was the herald of the sun, and obviously I mentioned health there, and so Sowilo, which obviously means sun, as I said, was one of the runes most used for healing. So in its position as the rune of midsummer, it basically represents the culmination or the zenith of a state or an energy or a situation. So with this rune, we are at the highest point, the zenith of that energy. It's about culmination. We have got to the point where we can go no further, and obviously from that point, the only possible option is to go downwards into a new phase. So as I said, Yera is opposite Dagaz on the wheel, and they're both runes related to time. So they're both runes that relate to change and can bring about change. So whereas the change with Yera is very slow and very gradual, and you could say it's the kind of gradual change which happens over the course of, say, a year, the kind of change brought about by Dagaz is sudden. We're talking about change on a cataclysmic level. The phrase "what a difference a day makes," you know, this is about this rune. This can bring about the kind of change which happens so suddenly from one situation to a completely different almost polar situation. So because this rune is linked with this kind of cataclysmic change, this is a rune related to the catastrophe theory, where one apparently stable state can suddenly flip over into a completely different, opposite but yet stable state. So if we look at the shape of the rune, which I have here, there you go, you can kind of see that flippiness there. It's kind of, it has that kind of pivotal point in the middle. So this is a rune which mirrors the balance between two opposite states, between two polarities, especially that of light and dark. Now obviously in its position as marker of the summer solstice, you know, we sit at that point where we cross from the waxing half of the year into the waning half of the year. So we've been building that energy up to this zenith, and now the energy is going to start receding. So this can be seen as a rune about liminality, about those times between light and dark. Now on the wheel it marks the point of midday, and obviously that is the point where the sun on the summer solstice is at its zenith. But this can also be a rune about those liminal times between light and dark, so dawn and dusk, those very liminal times. It's a bipolar rune. It's about the paradox of conjunction, the point at which two apparent opposites are unified at that point in the middle of the rune. So this rune can kind of represent that mystical moment of paradox and liminality. We've got a sheep next door, that's what the noise is. So let's look at the shape again. It does look rather reminiscent of a butterfly. So I've already said that, you know, this is a rune of day, and a day is about illumination. So we can see this rune about emerging from you know, the brain's gone again, from the chrysalis, that's the word I was looking for, chrysalis, from the chrysalis into a new, more elevated, more free, more illuminated state. And as such, this can be viewed as a rune of transformation. So with this rune, we're also talking about aspects of illumination, of clarity, and of spiritual awakening. So this rune can be used purposefully to help you to awaken to a higher level of consciousness. And if this rune appears in a reading, it can tell you that you are moving into a phase where you are more in touch with that divine mind, moving from a state of darkness into a state of illumination and clarity. Here comes sheep, bless them. So this rune can be about ascending. It's ascending into a state where you are more in contact with the divine, you are more connected with that divine mind, you are more awakened to states of higher perception. And this is a rune which is linked to Lusalfheim, the home of the light elves. So here we are talking about, you know, light beings, ascended beings. Of course this is related to the fae, to the fairies, and I suppose you could say, you know, that kind of shape, if you think of fairies as things with wings, which they're really not, then you could say that that's how that you know, that shape is linking us in here. This is a rune connected with the third eye chakra, and you can just imagine kind of drawing that shape on your forehead, and that point where it crosses, that point in the middle of this rune is on your third eye. So by connecting with this rune, by chanting this rune, you can really help to develop your higher perception. Right, it's getting windy now. Sheep are going for it. Just say we've had such absolutely scorching hot weather here in the UK. Not today, it kind of changed yesterday. It was much cooler, it just kind of dropped by 10 degrees, but it's been absolutely scorchio. You know, it's been baking hot, far too hot for me. But that's another thing, you often, at this time of year, you often get that really hot weather, and this is where we see Dagaz coming in, where normally in this country we cannot have that really hot weather without things suddenly flipping round and us having thunderstorms and, you know, Thor coming in and doing this stuff. So as I said about this rune being flippy and flipping from one extreme to the other, we often see that in the weather at this time of year. We didn't have any storms here, but my mum tells me that they had some back in East Anglia, where I come from. So yeah, so if we look at the shape again, it's kind of like the lemniscate or the infinity symbol. This can be a rune that you can use to place a sacred area kind of between the worlds. I've said about this rune being connected with liminality. So by using this rune, you can place something outside or effectively between light and dark in a liminal state. Well, we're getting loads of planes today. Glastonbury Festival actually starts today. It's not actually in Glastonbury, as most of you will probably know. It's actually just outside in a village called Pilton. So Glastonbury tends to pretty much turn into a ghost town at this time of year. The cafes and the pubs shut and shops shut and everybody clears off to the festival. But you do get a lot of helicopters going over, taking stuff into the festival, so that's why we've got all this noise today. So yeah, this rune also has links with invisibility, and you can kind of use it to cloak yourself, like, you know, Harry Potter's invisibility cloak. This is the runic equivalent. You can kind of use it to cloak yourself if you don't want to be seen, you don't want to be noticed, you or an object. And something you may want to try, which is quite effective, is if you want to draw in the power of a rune, you can visualize that rune kind of enveloping you. You can kind of see yourself within that rune, and I find that to be quite a useful practice if you need to draw upon the energies of a rune. So just, yeah, give it a go. So this rune has a few god associations, but one of the gods that this is associated is Galdr, the son of Odin and Frigga. Now, Baldr's name translates as courageous or fearless. He was the shining god, you know, the god that everybody loved, the beautiful god. And I won't go into the full story, but it's said that his death came at the summer solstice. So here we see, you know, we see that repeated pattern that you get within different forms of paganism, of the typical. Why didn't I switch my work phone off? Right, sorry about that. Let that be a lesson to me. Always switch off phones when recording videos. So what was I saying? Yeah, within pagan religions, you often get that kind of archetypal sun god who is sacrificed at midsummer to return to the earth as the sun, you know, reaches its zenith, and it then recedes until we get to the winter solstice. So I wonder if this is also a rune of disturbances, because I've now got a sheep coming to join me, so maybe, not that I'm aware of. Interesting. So yeah, as I said, sadly no astrological insights for us today, as Carolina can't be here. So we're going to go straight into the Galdr now and try to connect with the energies of Dagaz and see how we get on. So I'll just grab the drum. I think that's people on the Tor. Okay, so let's tune in and connect with Dagaz. Windy during that. Actually got a bit self-conscious because it was blowing my skirt up. I was hoping there was no one around. Yeah, so one thing which did come to me was it's going to be interesting. I noticed there's a lot of political upheaval in the UK at the moment, and I noticed lots of tie-ins between what was happening on a national level and the runic energies last time with Uthark. So it's going to be interesting to see how this rune Dagaz plays out. How I said about it can be flipping from one state to another, to a polar opposite. And interesting that the Queen's speech was rescheduled to happen virtually at the around midday on the summer solstice, you know, the very peak of the summer solstice and the very peak of the Dagaz energy. So yeah, you know, I don't know if it's going to have any bearing on how things are going to pan out, but it's going to be interesting to see how that energy affects things. But I have seen, you know, in people I know, they've told me about situations they've got, and I can see very much how that ties in with the energy of Dagaz at the moment. So yeah, so you know, it's a positive rune. It can really help you to towards further enlightenment. So give it a go. And sorry there's no astrological insights this time. Hopefully Carolina will be back next time. We'll have to see. And we'll be back to talk about Fehu, the rune of well, cattle amongst many other things. I'm surrounded by sheep at the moment, and yeah, so the last rune of the Uthark that will be, and the first rune of the Futhark. So it won't be long before we've been all the way round the wheel. We started at the autumn equinox with Canars, and yeah, we're now working our way back. We're now moving into the dark half of the year, you know, in the waning half of the year, back to that point where we started. So it all goes around. So yes, thank you for joining us. Me. So used to saying it. Thank you for joining me here in on the slopes of Glastonbury Tor around the Summer Solstice, and do subscribe to our channel. We do regular updates, and give us a thumbs up if you like our videos, and check out the podcast. We're a bit behind with that, but we'll be catching up, which is Astro Runecast. You can find that on iTunes or on the internet at our website. So thank you very much. May the energy of Dagaz be with you and bring you enlightenment and hope and happiness and all of those things, and see you next time. And next time I will definitely switch my work phone off. Okay, bye.